Should I see a therapist? And when is it time to see a therapist? My name's Catherine McNulty, and this is Grief Inspired. And today we're going to talk about therapy. And I have a lot of people that ask me, should I see a therapist? Is it worth going? How do I know I need to go to therapy? So I have some tips for you. Before I jump into the tips, I want to tell you that I believe therapy can always be a good thing. I think that therapy is not necessarily something that we need. And I don't like using the word need because it denotes that you need it because something is inherently broken or something needs to be fixed. So I like the word choose. But when you're finding a therapist, people often think that they go to a list and they choose whatever one happens to be covered under their insurance or the one someone else recommends, and they go to that one therapist and it either succeeds or it fails. And so the first tip I have for you is you need to find the right therapist, and that's going to change based on your situation, based on who you are as a person, based on what you're looking to potentially work through. There are a lot of different therapists out there. There are a lot of different skill sets, but there's also a lot of us, the people who need therapy. And so it isn't a one and done. Sometimes you need to do some legwork to really find a therapist that you connect with, that you feel good about. And if you connect with them and you believe what they're saying and it makes sense to you and it feels right, they're going to be able to help you. And so my recommendation there is, find the right therapist. And the way to do that is to call 2 or 3 and interview them, because this is an important decision to make. So take time to have a 15-minute phone conversation with a therapist. Ask them about what is their approach to therapy and what experience do they have with grief? Have they experienced grief on their own? And what's their approach to healing from grief? I think that if you ask those fundamental questions, you'll get a good sense. And choosing the right therapist is, if it feels good for you, then I would say give it a shot. If you're okay with that 15-minute conversation, then go ahead and give it a shot. Secondly is there's this overwhelming thing, and I've even done it myself, which it's so funny, is, I'm a therapy lifer. So I've been to a lot of therapy in my life. And there were times when I would walk into a therapy office, right? And you sit down and you plop down in the chair and you say, okay, fix me. And so I think that somehow we fundamentally believe that we're broken and that a therapist can mystically, magically fix us. And that is not the case. They are not there to fix you because you are broken. And so my tip number 2 is to make sure you have goals, right? So therapy is something that you choose because there's something that's causing issues for you in your life. Maybe you're stuck in grief. Maybe you feel really guilty. Maybe you hold a lot of anger and you want to let those things go. But the tip is to know what you need and then to be able to ask for it. So have clear goals, and don't go see a therapist until you know what those are. And if you need support in that, I want to encourage you to reach out to me at griefinspired@gmail.com. And I'm happy to have a conversation and help you decide that, because sometimes that can be, like, you can be in overwhelm and not really sure that either. But you want to make sure that before you head into a therapist's office, that you know what you need and you know what your goals are. I think that a lot of us, including me, have spent a lot of time just sitting and talking. And there's talk therapy can be super useful, but for me, in my experience, it's much more effective if you have a goal in mind, just like in anything else in the rest of our lives. So have a goal for your therapy. And it's not the, don't just do the fix me kind of thing. Thirdly, you can change course. People get started with a therapist and they don't realize that they can change course. And when I say change course, I mean, one, you can choose to try a different therapist. Maybe you've gone a couple of times and you're like, this just isn't right. It's okay. Don't stop therapy altogether. Find someone new. The other thing that can happen is if you've gone to a therapist for a while, you can get to the point where you're like, this just isn't, I'm not getting as much benefit as I did before. And that's okay too. So it may be an opportunity to reevaluate. Again, maybe you don't need therapy as much anymore, right? You don't feel like you need it. Maybe you want to try something different. Find a therapist with a different direction, with a different expertise. That's okay too. And the other thing is to, when you're setting out your goals, right? And it's okay to change course with your goals and say, you know what, I'm realizing that here's the area where I'm really stuck right now. So we were talking about this and we were working through that, but now I think this is a big deal. So let's talk through that. I think that that's useful. And then the fourth tip really is, therapy is something that you choose for you. It's not something that you need. It's not something because you're fundamentally broken and fixed. Therapy is something you choose because it's an opportunity to talk to what should be a neutral third party and to get a slightly different perspective. So I am not a fan of therapists that let you go and talk and talk and talk and don't really give you a lot of feedback. For me, I needed the feedback. I needed somebody to challenge the way of thinking that I had, because maybe just by changing the way of thinking, it could really lighten me up and make me feel better. And that's what I do on a lot of my videos. So if you like my videos, part of what I do is I try to change your perspective on how you're looking at things. And I think that's very healing and very therapeutic, because sometimes we get stuck in thinking things a certain way. So, this is something that you choose for you. If you choose therapy, it's because you want to heal. It's because you want to move forward. It's because you know that you deserve it, that you deserve to fundamentally be happy. And therapy can be part of that path, part of your journey to finding happiness. And so if you're on the fence about it, my advice is to go ahead and give it a try. And I try to give you as many tools as I can here, and you try them out. And one of the things that I really enjoyed on my grief journey was I had a therapist who gave me a lot of different tools, and I tried them on, just like you would try on a different outfit. And you'd be like, you know what, I like this one. I want to wear this one for a while. And then sometimes you'd put on other ones and you're like, this just doesn't fit. It just doesn't feel right. But then what's also interesting, and if you've seen, I have a 3-part series around, letting go of guilt. That uses a methodology called EFT, so healing and tapping. And what I found, for me, it was something that I didn't like early on, and then I chose it later, and I'm like, oh, this fits me now. So it really depends on where you're at, and you're the one who knows that. And so don't be afraid to just try some things out. And then if it works, keep doing it. And if it doesn't work, say, this isn't working for me. I'm going to try to do something else. And again, this is all for you. This is about your life, your healing, your happiness. And only you can be solely responsible for that. And so, but that also means that it's okay to ask for help and to find the help that you need, wherever that happens to be, whether it happens to be on a YouTube video, in a therapist's office, working with a life coach, whatever that happens to be for you, that's okay too. So continue to explore, continue to grow, because growth is the path to all healing, in my opinion. And you can do this. And there is always hope to get past even the most difficult and most challenging situations. You totally can. So don't ever give up. Keep going. Bye for now.